JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 29. Wu Shengshan Bing appraises life, and Pan Jinlian decoction invites a midday battle. Speaking of which, Pan Jinlian got up early the next day and sent Simon King out. Remembering to make those red shoes, I took my sewing basket and sat on the base of the jade pavilion, drawing the shoe fan. I invited Li Pinger to come. Li Pinger asked, "Sister, what are you painting with gold?" Jinlian said, "I want to make a pair of bright red plain satin and white damask flat shoes, with buttons on the toes embroidered with parrots picking peaches." Li Pinger said, "There is a square of bright red brocade with 10 kinds of brocades, and I also made a pair according to my sister's description. I will make the upper and lower ones." So I took the sewing basket and made 2 in the same place. Jinlian traced one and dropped it, then said, "Sister Li, trace this one for me, and I will call Sanji Meng later. He told me yesterday that he also wanted to make shoes." Behind, Yulu was leaning against the king in the room, wearing only one shoe. Seeing Jinlian come in, she said, "You should have done it earlier." Jinlian said, "I got up early and sent his father to see He Qianhu off outside. Please tell me to make an appointment with Sister Li, and we can do some things in the garden early in the morning. I just traced a shoe and asked Sister Li to trace it for me. I asked you to come with me so that the 3 of us can make it together." He asked, "What kind of shoe do you have in your hand?" Yulu said, "It's the pair of black satin shoes you saw me wearing yesterday." Jinlian said, "You are a good man." Another one came out early, Yulu said. "That one was healed yesterday. This one, it's just that I'm feeling better again." Jinlian took it and looked at it once, and said, "What will you do tomorrow?" Yulu said, "I can't compare to your younger generation, Huahua Lily. I'm an old man now. Let's go to Yen Tu, who makes gold sheep skins, and put green gauze thread around them to lock them." "Okay," Jinlian said, "that's fine. You hurry up and pack up. Let's go over and wait at Li Pinger's place." Yulu said, "You sit down and eat. Let's get some tea." Jinlian said, "If you don't want to eat, just take the tea and eat it there." Yulu told Lan Xiang to drink the tea and send it to him. The 2 women held hands and walked out with shoe fans on their sleeves. Wu Yunyang sat under the corridor in the upper room and asked, "Where are you going?" Jinlian said, "Sister Li asked me to ask Meng Sanner to trace shoes with him." After saying that, she came to the garden. The 3 of them sat down together, picked up the shoe fans, and looked at them all. Yulu asked, "Sixth sister, why are you making flat-soled red shoes for nothing? They are not as good-looking as high-low ones. If you think the wooden soles make your feet sound, why don't I use felt soles, which are not good?" Jinlian said, "They are not the shoes to wear. It's a sleeping shoe, because my sleeping shoe was stolen and oiled by a little slave. His father ordered me to teach me how to make this pair of shoes again." Yulu said, "Speaking of shoes again, this is not a tongue, either. Li sister, listen here. Yesterday, because you lost this shoe, his father beat him with a small iron rod and beat him until he lay on the ground and died for a long time. It made Yi Jiangking so angry that he couldn't scold him in the back. I scolded that whore and bastard for imitating me and beat her up. She would have been alive long ago if she had died. The whore and that bastard would not be clean. I no longer know who she was scolding." The lacking little iron rod came in. Big sister asked him, "Why did your father beat you?" The boy said, "I picked up a shoe because I was playing in the garden. So I asked my uncle to change it. I don't know who told my father to beat me." After a meal, "Now I'm looking for my uncle and asking him where he wants to go." After saying that, he ran forward. It turned out that the bastard he scolded was brother-in-law Chen. Li Jiar was sitting next to her, but the eldest sister was not there. "If you are here, if you hear it, it will be another scene," Jinlian said. "Eldest sister didn't say anything?" Yulu said, "You still said that eldest sister didn't talk about you." She said, "Now this family is in troubled times." King, a 9-tailed vixen, was born. He divorced his wife after being deported by the emperor and caused trouble. Lai Wanger, a young boy who was thinking about going away, came from the south in good condition. He left tents here and there, saying that his wife supported the master. And he said how he used a knife and a staff to cause trouble and sent him out, forcing his wife to hang again. Now it's just a shoe. And such an earth-shattering rebellion is happening. Wear your shoes well on your feet. Why did the boy lose the shoe? He must have been drunk, and somehow got into a relationship with the man in the garden, and then lost the shoe. Now I am not ashamed, and it is not a big deal to use the boy to hold the vat. After hearing this, Jin Lian said, "It's no big deal, Mao Bai. What is a big deal? Killing someone is a big deal. I want to kill my master with a knife." The two of us heard what Lake Singer said. "What are you bluffing? You are his eldest wife. But you are saying this? You don't care. I don't care either. Just teach the slave to kill the man. His wife, he has been working behind you all day long, but you have allowed him to ignore you. Taught him to bully the big and destroy the small. And harmonize with this one and that one. Everyone has his own grievances and creditors. You accuse me and I will accuse you. Hang to death. And you didn't tell the man. You've already paid the hard work, and the good favor has been said. Otherwise, what would happen? You're just trying to push it away. Talking about face. You're right. I'm instigating the man. No matter what, if you don't teach him how to drive his slave wife and man away from home, it doesn't count. Countless people can't hold me in the well." Yulu saw Jin Lian's pink face and became angry, and then advised, "Sixth sister, you and I, sisters, are all the same person. Didn't I say anything to you when I heard it? I said it, but I only kept it in your heart. Don't use it out." Golden Lotus does not rely on him. Simon King, who was waiting late at night, came into his room and told Simon King, "Why is Zhao's daughter-in-law, Yi Jiangking, scolding her in the back, saying that you beat his child and wanted to be punished and yelled at. If Simon King doesn't listen, just let it go." After hearing this, he will remember it in his heart. The next day, Zhao Sen and his wife will be driven out. Thanks to Yunyang's repeated persuasion, he was not allowed to stay at home and sent him to guard the house on Shizi Street, guarding the door for Ping An'er. The next time Yunyang found out, she was very angry with Jin Lian. Simon King was sitting in the front hall one day when Ping An'er suddenly came to report. Master Zhou of the Garrison Mansion sent a fortune teller named Wu Shengshan to wait on his father at the door. Simon King called someone to come in and see him. He handed over the guard post and said, "Invitation." After a moment, the immortal Wu came in from outside wearing a green preaching scarf, a cloth robe and straw shoes, a yellow silk double tassel tied around his waist, and a tortoise-shell fan in his hand. He is about 40 years old, and his spirit is as clear as the bright moon of the Yangtze River, and his appearance is like the pine trees of Taihua in ancient times. It turns out that the gods have for strange things. They are like pine trees, sound like bells, sit like boughs, and walk like wind. But I saw him. He was able to learn from the wind and was good at studying Ziping. By observing the Qiangxiang, one can recognize yin and yang. By observing the Dragon Sutra, one can clearly understand Feng Shui. The 5 stars speak deeply, and the 3 lives secretly speak. Examine the pattern to determine the prosperity and decline of a lifetime. Observe the complexion to determine the success and failure of the next year. If he is not a cultivator from Huayu, he must be a divination seller from Chengdu. When Simon King saw the immortal coming in, he hurriedly lowered the steps to greet him and took him to the hall. When the immortal saw Simon King, he bowed his head and sat down. "Let's have some tea in a moment," Simon Qingdong asked the immortal, with such a great name and elegance. "Where is the hometown of immortals, and why do you know Master Zhou?" The immortal Wu leaned over and said, "The poor Taoist surname is Wu Betabai, and his Taoist name is Shujin. He is originally from Zhejiang province. Xianyu. He became a monk at Sixu Temple in Tiantai Mountain since he was a child. He traveled to the country and visited Dazong to visit Taoism. The Taoist scriptures met at a noble place. Mr. Zhou made an appointment with his soldiers. Seeing that his old lady had an eye disease, he specially sent her to the house to observe her." Simon King said, "Which family of yin and yang will the old immortal meet? Which family of Taoist physiognomy?" The immortal said, "I am a poor Taoist who knows all the 13 families. He is good at the physiognomy of linen clothes and the divine lesson of Liuran. He often uses medicine to save lives. People don't love worldly wealth, and live in the world at any time. After Simon King heard this, he became more respectful and praised. He is really what we call a god. He ordered the tables to be placed on the left and right, and the food was placed to take care of the guests. The immortal said, "The poor Taoist has no Taoism to observe the appearance. How can he give me a fast first?" Simon King smiled and said, "The immortal must have not used the morning fast in the long run. It will not be too late to see the fate after using it." So he accompanied the immortal to eat some after eating vegetarian food. He carried it across the table, wiped it clean, and asked for a pen-ending stone. The immortal said, "Please observe your creation first, and then observe your appearance." Simon King then said the horoscope. He who is a tiger is 29 years old and was born at noon on July 28th. The immortal secretly looked with his fingers. Pattern, he said for a long time, in the year of Woyan, in the month of Shinyu, in the year of Woyan, in the month of Renwu, in the year of Bingwu, White Wu on the 23rd day of the 7th month has been handed over to fortune-telling in August. The month order is mentioned in the month of Shinyu to deal with injuries, official status. Ziping Yun, a wounded official will be restored to wealth after all his injuries, and wealth will bring good fortune to the official. If you establish a life in Shen Palace, the fortune will be Shinyu at the age of 7, Rangsu in the 17th line, Guihai in the 27th, Jiazi in the 37th year, and Jiazi in the 4th year. 17th Yichu, officials are noble. According to Pine Dao, the Yuan life is noble and prosperous, and the horoscope is kinky. If it is not noble, it is prosperous, but the Wu soil hurts the official, born in July and August, and the body is extremely prosperous. Fortunately, if you get the J stem of Renwu, there is Gui water in the ugly, and water and fire complement each other, so it becomes a great weapon. At Bingwu time, Bing combines with Shin, and later you will be in an authoritative position. You will be prosperous, happy and safe in your life. You will be blessed and promoted to an official position, and you will have a noble son. He is an upright person all his life, and he does things in the same way. When he is happy, he is in harmony with the spring breeze, and when he is angry, he is like thunder and fire. He will get a lot of wife and wealth in his life, and he will wear many gauze hats. When he dies, he will have two sons to accompany him to old age. This year, Ding and Ren are in the same year. Ding and Ren are in harmony, and his eyes are Ding. Fire comes to conquer me, and the one who restrains me is an official or a ghost. He will surely bring the joy of ascending to the clouds from the plains, and the glory of getting an official and a salary. The great fortune will go to Gui Hai. Wu soil will be nourished by Gui water, and the settled view will occur. Red Luan will appear under the eyes. The sky is happy. There must be signs of bears. I also ordered the palace post horse to come to Shen, but it will be seen in July. Simon King asked, "How will my luck be in the future?" The fairy said, "Don't blame me, officials, but there should not be too much in water in the 8 characters." Later, in Jiazi's luck, Ran Wu broke through, and there were meteors to disturb it. In the 66th year of his birth, the Lord suffered from vomiting and bleeding, and became thin and weak. Simon King asked, "How are you now?" The immortal said, "Now that the years are passing, every day when the house is in ruins, the 5 ghosts are noisy and a little annoyed. It was not a disaster. It was all washed away by the arrival of the god of joy." Simon King asked, "Is there still a chance of defeat?" The god said, "The year is chasing the moon, and the month is chasing the sun. It is really difficult." After hearing this, Simon King was filled with joy and said, "Sir, how do you like me?" The immortal said, "Please change your appearance." Simon King moved his seat. The immortal Xiang said, "Husband Xiang has a heart but no appearance, and he is chasing each other. He has a shape but no intention, and he follows his heart. I look at the officials. If they have round heads and short necks, they are destined to be blessed. If they have strong bodies and strong muscles, they are definitely heroes. The sky is high, and you will have no loss in wealth, and wealth throughout your life. The earth and pavilions are round, and you will definitely get glory in your later years. These are some good things." There are still some shortcomings that I dare not say, Simon King said. Immortal Chang, but it doesn't matter. The immortal said, please take a few steps to have a look. Simon King Shun actually took a few steps. The immortal said, if you walk like a willow, the master will hurt his wife. If there is no punishment to restrain her, her body will be damaged. It is better if the wife's palace restrains her, Simon King said. The punishment has been passed. The immortal said, please take a look. Simon King stretched out his hands and came to see the immortal. The immortal said, wisdom is born from the fur, and happiness is born from the hands and feet. People who are soft and plump will surely enjoy fortune. With two male and female eyes, they will be rich and deceitful. With two tails on the eyebrows, they will always be self-sufficient and happy throughout their lives. There are 3 lines on the roots. In the middle age, there will be a lot of dissipation. If the treacherous family is red and purple, you will get a lot of money from your wife in your life. If the yellow air comes from Gao Kuang, you will definitely be promoted to an official position within 10 days. If the red air comes from the 3 yangs, you will have a noble son this year. There is one more thing I dare not say. Tears the hall is rich, but also the owner is greedy for flowers. And if you are happy, your nose will be the star of wealth, which will test your luck in middle age. It will be responsible for the prosperity and decline of the next life. If the pavilion in Chengjiang is prosperous, the fortune star must be in the middle. Everything in life is determined by fate, and there is no room for mystery in appearance. After the gods and immortals had finished their visit, Simon said in celebration, I asked the immortal to minister to everyone in the room. At the same time, he ordered the servants, please come out from behind your aunt. So Li Jiar, Meng Yulu, Pan Jinlian, Li Ping'er, Sun Zui and others all came follow out and listened behind the soft screen. When the immortal saw Yunyang coming out, she quickly bowed her head and didn't dare to sit down, so she stood aside to observe the appearance. After looking at it for a while, he said, my wife's face is like the full moon. Her family will be prosperous. Her lips are like red lotus. She will have abundant food and clothing. She will be rich and have children. Her voice will be pure and clear. My husband will be blessed and prosperous. Please take action. Yunyang appeared from her sleeve. Spring is coming, the immortal said. With the hands of dry ginger, a woman must be good at running the house, and her hair must be beautiful, and she must be delicate. These are good. There are still some shortcomings. Don't blame the poor Taoist, Simon King said. Immortal, it's okay to say it long. A black mole in the tears hall will definitely punish the husband if there is no serious illness. The wrinkles under the eyes also indicate that the 6 relatives are like charcoal. A woman has a well-groomed appearance and walks as slowly as a turtle out of water. I am determined to be a noble wife without shoulders. After the meeting, Yunyang stepped back. Simon King said, there are still concubines, please take a look. Then Li Jiar came over. The immortal watched for a long time and said, this lady has a pointed forehead and a small nose. She is not a side wife, so she will marry her husband 3 times. She is heavy and fat, and she has a wide range of food and clothing, so she can enjoy prosperity and luxury. She shrugs her shoulders and weeps. If she is not humble, she is lonely. If the bridge of her nose is low, she is not. Poverty means death. Please take a few steps and let me see. Li Jiar took a few steps. The immortal said, if the forehead is exposed and a back is snake-like, it will definitely fall into the dust in the early years. Fake Rao is not a prostitute, but also a man behind the screen. After the meeting, Li Jiar went down. Wu Yunyang called, Sister Meng, please come here to see me. The immortal said, this lady, 3 times are equal. She will have no loss in clothing and salary throughout her life. Her 6 palaces will be prosperous. And she will definitely get glory in her old age. She will have few illnesses in her life, all because of the brilliance of the moon. There will be no disasters in old age, and the palace will probably be beautiful. Madam, please take 2 steps. Yulu took 2 steps, and the immortal said, his mouth is as clear as the 4-character god, and he is as gentle as the pearl on his palm. He has both power and wealth, and in the end he has more than enough to punish his husband. After the meeting in Yulu, Pan Jinlian was called over. Pan Jinlian just laughed and refused to come over. Yunyang urged her again and again before she came out. The god raised his head to look at the woman, pondered for a long time, and then said, "This lady has thick and heavy hair, and her squinting eyes are so lewd. Her face is charming and her eyebrows are crooked, and her body is not shaking, but she is trembling. She has a black mole on her face. He is responsible for punishing his husband. His lips are short, and he will die young. His behavior is frivolous, but he is fond of prostitution, and his eyes are like dots of paint, which is bad for human relations. Under the moon, the starry sky is not enough, and although he lives in a mansion, he will not feel at ease." After looking at the golden lotus, Simon King asked Li Pinger to come up and teach the gods how to look at each other. The gods looked at this woman. The skin is fragrant. She is a girl from a wealthy family. The appearance is dignified. She is a virtuous woman of a plain family, but she has too much eyes, like drunkenness, to make an appointment in the mulberry tree. The eyebrows are dimpled, and it is difficult to have a good time under the moon. Ding! If you look at the lying silkworm, it is bright, moist and purple, and you will surely give birth to a noble son. The body is white and the shoulders are round, and you will be favored by your husband. You often suffer from illness, just because the root is dull. If you encounter happiness and auspiciousness frequently, it is said that the lucky star is bright and moist. These few springs benefits. There are still a few shortcomings. The lady should take warning. The roots of the mountains are green and black, and there are cries before and after the 39th year. The laws are detailed urgent back and forth. How can we live through the years of the rooster and the dog? Be careful while you cherish Yuhan's appearance and have good friends in life, such as Feng and Luan. The wealth of a rich family can be relied on, so don't treat them like ordinary birds. After the meeting, Li Pinger went down. Yunyang asked Sun Zui to come out and have a look. The god looked at it and said, "This lady has a short body, a high voice, a pointed forehead and a small nose. Although she moved out of the valley to live in a new house, she has been sneering and ruthless her whole life, and has a deep and secretive agenda. She just suffered the consequences of the four evils, and she will be the master of evil in the future. Death. The husband has the following for faults: lips with no edges, ears with no wheels, eyes with no energy, and nose with the wrong nose. The swallow body is a bitch with a wasp waist, and the eyes are like running water. They often lean against the door and stand. If you don't become a maid or a concubine, you will be exposed to dust." Zui went down, and Yunyang taught the eldest sister to come up and take a look. The immortal said, "This girl has a low nose and a broken nose. Her voice is like a broken gong, and her belongings disappear. She is too impatient. Although her furrows are long, her life will be short. She walks like a leaper, but she lives in a house and lacks food and clothing. No more than 39. He should be tortured. But his husband is rebellious and psychic, and his parents only provide enough food and clothing to keep him healthy. His appearance is difficult to show, and it is also difficult not to suffer an evil death." After the eldest sister's appearance, Zhao Chanmai also came up to teach the gods how to look. The immortal opened his eyes and saw Chanmai, who was no more than 29 years old. She was wearing a silver silk cloud bun on her head, a white threaded shirt, a pink skirt, and a blue gauze skirt. She came out with her hands and feet bound, and said a blessing. The immortal watched for a long time and said, "This young lady has good facial features and unique bones. She has thin hair and thick eyebrows, which means she has a strong temperament. She has an anxious spirit and round eyes, and she is impatient. If her roots are strong, she will definitely get a noble husband and give birth to a son. If her forehead is arched, it indicates her early years. You must wear a beaded crown. You walk like a flying fairy. Your voice is pure and clear. You will benefit your husband and get a salary, and you will definitely receive a gift from Sanju. But if you eat this, your left eye will be big, and you will lose your father in your early years. Your right eye will be small, and you will lose your mother in 1 year. Under the corner of the left mouth, a black mole like this means you will often suffer from chirping. A black mole on the right cheek means you will be loved and respected by your husband throughout our life. In heaven, you will have straight facial features. Your mouth will be smooth and your steps will be smooth. Your storehouse will be rich, and you will often be pitied by the nobles throughout your life. After seeing the gods, all the women bit their fingers and thought they were gods. Simon King awarded 5 taels of silver to the gods and rewarded those who came to the garrison mansion with 5 taels of silver and gave him a greeting card in return. Wu Shengshan repeatedly declined and said, "I am a poor Taoist who travels all over the world, eating and sleeping in the open air. What is the use of this wealth? I will never accept it." Simon King had no choice but to take out a big piece of cloth and said, "How about giving the immortal a coat? Just now I accepted it and asked the boy to take it and bow my head to thank him." Simon King walked out of the door and drifted away. Exactly. The 2 ends of the pole carry the sun and the moon, and the gourd hides the mountains and rivers. Simon King returned to the back hall and asked Yunyang, "How do everyone get along with each other?" Yunyang said, "They all get along well, but the 3 of them can't get along." Simon King asked, "What 3 don't get along with each other?" Yunyang said, "Xiang Li's eldest sister has a real illness. She will give birth to a son tomorrow. He is pregnant now, so that's it. Xiang, our eldest sister, will be tortured tomorrow. I don't know why. Xiang Chunmai will also give birth to a son later. Or you? Make good use of him, and everyone's descendants will not see it. I just don't believe it. They say that he later wore a beaded crown, and he was like a lady. Our family has no officials, so why ask for a beaded crown? Even if he has a beaded crown, it won't be his turn." "Come on," Simon King said with a smile. "He thinks that I have the joy of climbing to the top of the clouds, the honor of being promoted to a high position. How can I get an official position?" He saw Chunmai and you standing together, dressed differently, wearing a bun with silver threads. She could just be regarded as your biological daughter. Or she might later marry a famous family and recruit a noble son-in-law. So it is said that she has the distinction of a pearl and a crown. Since ancient times, fortune-telling has never been good. Destroyed. Mr. Zhou has sent it. We shouldn't make noises with him. Just teach him how to get rid of his doubts." After saying that, Yunyang placed food in her room and sent her away to eat. Simon King was strolling around with a banana fan in his hand. Come to the large rolling shed in the garden to gather in the view hall. Curtains are put down around it, surrounded by flowers and trees. At noon, I heard the sound of cicadas deep in the green shade, and suddenly the wind carried the fragrance of flowers, hitting my nostrils. There is poetry to prove it. The shade of green trees is thick and the summer is long, and the balcony is reflected in the pond. The crystal curtain moves, and the breeze rises, and a rack of roses fills the courtyard with fragrance. Simon King sat on a chair and fanned himself to cool down. I saw the boys, Lianer and Huatung, coming to fetch water from the well. Simon King said, "Teach me one." Lianer hurriedly walked forward. Simon King said, "Go to the back and tell your sister Chunmai, bring me a pot of plum soup to eat." Lianer accepted the promise. Half a day later, I saw Chunmai wearing a silver silk bun and carrying a pot of honey-fried plum soup. She came smiling and asked, "Have you eaten?" Simon King said, "I ate in the back." Chunmai said, "Don't come into the room if you are angry. If you want plum soup, I'll put it in ice and let you eat it." Simon King nodded. Chunmai was pouring into the plum soup. He came over and held up the chair, took the banana fan from Simon King's hand, and fanned him, and asked, "What did the lady in the head tell you?" Simon King said, "Say that Wu Shengshan met. Festival?" Chunmai said, "The Taoist priest just said to wear a beaded crown, and taught the ant to say, if you have a beaded crown, I'm afraid it won't be his turn. As the saying goes, mortals cannot be judged by appearance, and sea water cannot be measured, and the spin has never been round. How can we predict the round cuts and the food and clothing for each person? I will just be a slave in your house forever." Simon King smiled and said, "Little oily boy, if you have a baby tomorrow, I will take care of it for you." Head. So she held him in her arms, played with her hand in hand, and asked, "Where is your mother? Why is she missing?" Chunmei said, "My mother is in the house, teaching Kyuju how to heat the water for a bath." Unable to wait, I fell asleep on the bed. Simon King said, "Wait until I have some plum soup, then I can fool around with him." Then Chunmei poured a bowl of plum soup into the ice basin and took a sip with Simon King. They felt the coolness in their bones, and their teeth were refreshed, like nectar pouring over the heart. After eating for a moment, he put his hands on Chunmei's shoulders and turned around the corner door to the Golden Lotus room. I saw a woman sleeping on a newly purchased mother-of-pearl bed in the front. It turned out that because Li Pinger had a mother-of-pearl open hall bed installed in his room, the woman taught Simon King to spend 60 taels of silver to buy him a mother-of-pearl bed with railing. Wooden fans on both sides are decorated with mother-of-pearl flowers and feathers, hung with purple gauze curtains and brocade ribbons with silver hooks. The woman's naked body is covered with a red gauze tube top covered with a red gauze quilt, and resting on a mandarin duck pillow on a mat, deep in sleep. When Simon King saw him, he suddenly felt lustful. He asked Chunmei to go out, quietly took off his clothes and pants, got on the bed, lifted the gauze quilt, and saw that his beautiful bodies were covering each other. He gently opened his legs and pressed them. The handle was slowly inserted into the female's body, and by the time Xingyan yawned, it had already been pulled dozens of times. The woman opened her eyes and said with a smile, "What a robber. I don't know why we came in. I don't know if I'm asleep. I slept so sweetly that you slapped me to death." Simon King said, "I'll leave it alone. If a raw man comes in, why don't you reject him?" The woman said, "It's not easy for me to scold him. Who dares to come into my room? You can only be as big or small as you want." It turned out that because Simon King praised Li Pinger's fair body at the Jade Pavilion the day before yesterday, she secretly mixed jasmine pistils into ghee and powdered it, and applied it all over her body. It was white, smooth, fragrant, and lovely, and she wanted to win his favor. Simon King saw that his body was as white as snow and he was wearing the newly made red sleeping shoes. Squatting on one side, cupping the buttocks with both hands, lifting it as hard as possible, lowering one's head to watch its movement in and out. The woman said, "Weird. What are you just looking at? The slave's body is dark, not as white as Li Pinger's. You pity him lightly when he is pregnant with a child. I always pick it up and let it be messed with like this." Simon King asked, "You said you were waiting for me to take a bath?" The woman asked, "How did you know to come?" Simon King said, "Chunmei said that." The woman said, "You wash." I asked Chunmei to bring some water. Soon he carried the bathtub into the room and filled it with soup. The two of them got out of bed and bathed in orchid soup together, enjoying the pleasure of fish and water together. After taking a bath, Simon King took advantage of the situation and laid the woman on her back on the bathing board. He held her feet with both hands and lifted her up. He did it more than 200 or 300 times, and the sound was like a crab in the mud. It goes on and on. The woman was afraid that the fragrant clouds would drag her down, so she held the clouds with one hand and held the edge of the basin with the other. Speaking of swallows and warblers, which were difficult to describe, how did you see this battle? But see, the ripples of the Wachi are chaotic, the green curtains are high, and the autumn clouds are dark. The talented man is passionate and shows off his romantic ways, and the beautiful woman shows off her skills when she is happy. There was a sound of banging and banging. How can I stop the slippery? It's hard to stay standing despite all the obstacles. One is punting the boat against the current, shaking the jade stalk. The other is the boatman steering the rudder, swinging the golden lotus. The two are infatuated with each other, and Yu Yuyan doesn't even defend himself. Letting him interact with phoenixes in a brocade tent is not like fighting between fish and fish in a soup of blue soup. The two fought in the water for a while, but Simon King's semen was released and stopped. Wipe yourself clean and remove the tub. He put on his thin short jacket and went to bed, and set the king table to drink fruit and drank. She told Kyuju, "Bring some white wine to eat with your father." He also asked Simon King to eat some tarts, lest he get hungry. I saw Kyuju bring a silver bottle of wine and half a day. The woman poured it for an hour, touched the cold one, then splashed it on Kyuju's face. all over her face, and cursed. "What a thief, you slave. I told you to teach you how to burn it. Let's eat cold wine with Dad. Don't you know what arrangements you have made?" He called JinPingMei, "Take this slave with me and kneel down in the yard." JinPingMei said, "I'll roll up and bind the feet of Mother behind you. Some of them are gone. If you are here, you will get she center." Kyuju's mouth was filled with tears, and she murmured, "Every day, my parents still eat ice cold wine, but today they changed their tune again." The woman heard the curse and said, "What a thief slave. What did you say? Pick it up with me." He asked JinPingMei to hit him 10 times on each face. JinPingMei said, "Leatherface, it's true that my hands were dirty. Mother just taught him to kneel with a rock on his head." So without any explanation, she took him to the yard and taught him to kneel with a big rock on his head without saying a word. The woman asked JinPingMei to warm up the wine, and ate with Simon King for a few minutes. Then she set off the wine table, put down the gauze curtain, and ordered the door to be closed. They held their heads and made love, and went to bed tired. Exactly. If you don't see it on the top of a mountain of jade, you'll probably find it in a balcony dream.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.